Hi, I'm Teresa.
And I'm Ani.
This is called This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. And as we're putting this together late Thursday night, uh, the
Surprise.
news, surprise, the news of the supposed ceasefire is still bouncing around. And yet there's no ceasefire. Since the ceasefire was announced, or the negotiations for the ceasefire were announced, the Israelis have killed 101 people in Gaza, including 27 children. And that's been the way of all of these ceasefires lately. They haven't ceased to fire. So I don't have high hopes that it will, in fact, go through
Do you like
at
me
all.
moving the camera around as soon as
Yeah,
we
so
start? Is that good?
adds a little variety for seasickness or something.
My apologies to anyone with vertigo.
I was born in or adjacent to the 30th Congressional District in Texas, currently represented by Jasmine Crockett. And last year, she gained some notoriety for shutting down Representative Marge Green, who had said something pejorative about Jasmine's eyelashes. And Jasmine retorted in kind, cracking up the nation about Green's blonde, bad-built butch body, or words to that effect. I was laughing as well, even though I also have no hips, but it wasn't really about Green's looks. It was about a black woman clapping back. And good on her. But this year, Crockett took on Representative Mace, who is known for her vicious treatment of trans women in general, and Representative Sarah McBride in particular. Before McBride, who is transgender, even arrived in Congress, she was banned from the bathrooms on the insidiously false theory that she represented a threat to other Congresswomen. And now Mace has been sporting an arms sling to support her false and ridiculous assertion that she had been assaulted by actually just an ordinary handshake from a member of a pro-trans delegation. The grade school drama has been intense with this bunch. So when Representative Crockett was calling for the reestablishment of the Committee on Civil Rights, Representative Mace opposed the efforts. And Crockett said in response to Mace's objections, quote, "I can see that somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So Mace is going to keep saying trans, 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 so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen," Crockett said. Quote, "I am no child. Do not call me a child. I am no child," end quote. Mace interjected childishly, prompting committee chair James Comer, Republican of Kentucky, to unsuccessfully call for order. "If you want to take it outside, we can do that," Mace said, addressing Crockett. Now, in case you're not from around here, take it outside means I want to hit you with something. It's a threat of violence. At that point, watching the video, I'll admit I was thrilled, hoping to see Crockett thump Mace like a rat. You have to admit that there's some justice in the idea. Mace immediately took to social media to pretend that she had not threatened Crockett, but no one's buying it. The thing that really burns a Karen like Mace is the idea that civil rights could include transgender individuals, and Crockett does indeed stand forthright for that principle, and I therefore call her a hero. There have been too few such heroes, especially in that supposed dynamo of civil rights, the Democratic Party. Crockett's staff took the fight to the media saying, quote, Congresswoman Crockett ignored Mace's obvious desperate baiting. If Representative Mace wants to raise money off the back of a qualified black woman, she can try someone else, end quote. And now the inauguration approaches. So here we are. As all warnings about Trump are effectively ignored, he is to suffer no repercussions for his criminality. There are no recounts ordered. There is no treason arrest. There is no call for the curing vote implied by Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And Monday, we will allow a 34-count convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist, a known liar, and a demagogue to once again ascend the steps of the Capitol, now repaired from the damage and cleaned of literal shit stains of his followers' assholes, and proceed to offer him a meaningless oath that he will again break.
You have such a way with words, dear.
Why, thank you. And all this to ensconce the oligarchy and to assuage the diaper-wearing anxieties of his white male supremacist base. There are many in his crowd who are not white, cis male, Christian, racist supremacists, but every one of them hopes to gain power by being perceived as adjacent to that privileged core. Central to the mythology of that angry crowd is the idea that they have been unforgivably injured, slandered, and shoved aside from their rightful place by every woman, every Black American, every indigenous person, every Spanish-speaking brown immigrant, and every gay, lesbian, bisexual, and especially every transgender person. This last category takes on now the blood libel as perverted assaulters of children and women. That last mendacious stain is familiar and has been smeared before onto gay persons, and before that smeared onto Black Americans, and before that smeared onto European Jewry for hundreds of years in pogroms leading to the Holocaust. It's the same story. Minus the poisoning of the wells and the Black Sabbaths with the stolen babies, it's been slightly updated. It still works to generate a blind rage, though, because who would not want to defend the defenseless against rape and perversion? And blind rage is just what is being called for, mark my words, at Trump's Nuremberg rally at the Capitol on Sunday, the holy day, the day before the inauguration, where Trump, following the dictates of Hitler to a T, will be perceived to arrive at the rally via air, descending like a god to address the masses. Do not be intimidated. We still have half of Congress and all of history on our side. Support your relatives in the armed forces and demand they listen to their oaths to reason and to history, because a great spew of fascism will erupt from that inauguration like a boiling and fetid lava, calling for revenge, retribution, and violence. Former General Mike Flynn, who has been tagging along with Trump as his violence coordinator for years, has called for a night of the long knives, and that's a quote. Do not be intimidated, but also don't make yourself a target. Let the fools have their day while we arrange to undermine them. Some of Che and Fidel's greatest victories in taking starving capitalist Cuba away from its casino mob masters happened when Batista's forces, backed by the aerial might of the United States, pounced with bombs and full armament over and over, precisely where the guerrilla army wasn't. Likewise, our victory builds from decentralized efforts, from meetings, from dances, knitting circles, movie discussions, and dinners where the mighty MAGA ain't. They can't stop us all. Our numbers are too small to stop in the field, but far too big to ignore in the aggregate. By the time we get to the general strike, the MAGA oligarchs will feel they are pushing back against the wind, and we are the wind. So this brings me back to Jasmine Crockett. By standing up in solidarity with trans persons, she wins my further solidarity with the struggle for Black equality and against the festering growth of Gilead. Let's call even louder for reparations, for living wages, against billionaire oligarchy, and for the seizure and nationalization of big oil, and for the healing and repair of the hurricane-building, forest-burning, city firestorm-brewing climate. Let's go.
And that's Teresa's. She wanted to present that.
Rant. I said, honey, tonight I just want to do a rant.
And I was like, but I like to talk. But there it is. Thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome.
All right. Hey, y'all. I'm so excited that some people found us. So I'm just going to put it out there for folks that are seeing this at 9 a.m, tuning in and expecting that we are streaming then. We are streaming now on Thursday night because, well, we're not going to be able to at 9 on a Friday morning. And so you'll have this to remind you of us. Thanks for joining us. So glad you've hit that notification bell. I do have some tarot for the week. And, well, it's, I gotta say, kind of more of the same. What we have the all cards inversed, the Two of Pentacles inversed, the King of Swords inversed, the Eight of Pentacles inversed. What does this all mean? Well, it means don't spread yourself too thin. Remember that we are in for a marathon, right? We are in for a movement. We are making progress in some areas, and in other areas it's terrifying, as we are watching a return to fascism that is pretty much straight out of fascist playbooks, and we know that. So knowing that, how do we do? What do we do? How do we respond? And how do we not give in that, that feeling of helplessness, that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of we have to spread ourselves thin, we have to do everything we can all at once, we don't, right? Take care of ourselves, guard our energy. Our energy is precious, and we need to be in for the long haul, because in fact, we are up against, this is the card of a tyrant. The King of Swords inversed talks about those that would obtain power by deceit, those that would take power by might, those that do not wield power responsibly, those that tend towards cruelty or sadism. It's the card of the tyrant. And so here it is in the center of things over this next week.
Imagine that.
And our way out. Our way out is, in fact, the Eight of Pentacles inversed. What does that mean? The Eight of Pentacles inverse is a way of looking at our need to solidify new skills, that we have some work to be done before we attain that which we strive for. And that work to be done really is assessing what skills are needed now and to get about the business of building them. I would suggest that a lot of those skills are really traditional skills. Victory gardens, anyone? I really am an awful gardener.
I'm worse.
And so, I'm looking for trading vegetables for, I don't know, tarot, storytelling, I don't know, whatever, but to start working these lines of what can we give, what can we do to support each other. I think those lines are really important to revitalize, right? It is important to reclaim public space away from social media. The oligarchs own social media. There may be new platforms that pop up that are fantastic and can help us. But our real organizing work has to be done in the public spaces. They're the spaces we live in. And so learning these skills, relearning these skills, recommitting these skills to build that new world. That's my rant for this episode of This Is Now, Bridge to a Better World. It is really time to put the pieces together and build the skills that are needed to do the hard work ahead in rebuilding our communities, to be sustainable, to have food forests, to have public transportation that is accessible, a green world away from climate change causing consumption, away from end stage capitalism and into that next thing that comes afterwards. I think it's mutual aid. I think it's based in compassion, and I'm here for that. So our love goes out to you.
And to all the ships at sea.
We shall see you more than likely in a week from this Friday at 9 Pacific time. We should, be here, or at least some facsimile of us should be here.
We'll try.
You never know. It could happen. See you then.
Bye-bye.